Get me that signal. We need more power.
One thing I noticed, it wasn't during the panel, but the autograph session, because I was like at the end of the line and people are coming through, but I was just kind of noticing the fan base and how beautiful to see like a 6-year-old and a 60-year-old, and a woman came through that had breast cancer. And she was saying, put some healing energy in my autograph, and I just think that's the beauty of a show like this. It just reaches so many people and, and women of all ages and little girls, and I just think it's empowering and it is healing in a way, and it's just it's a beautiful show to be a part of.
I remember in the autograph line, which I thought that was so cool, is like little 6-year-old Ivy with her mom and then her grandmother, and they were all fans, and they're like, we're 3 generations right here, and I was like, man, that's so exciting. And they had said that the 6-year-old, we were going to be the version that she had seen, and they were going to be rewatching that with her, which I thought that is really, really exciting. But I mean, everybody's been so supportive, and I feel like it's really a super diverse fan base. I mean, there were a couple guys that like were coming through, and I'm like, you look like a football jock, and they're like in there with like this like super tiny like 13-year-old girl that's and it's like, how cool is this that a show that they can all relate to something, whereas with other shows that I've worked on, you're like, okay, you are definitely a fan of this, and you are definitely a fan of this, but with Sailor Moon, you don't know. And guys are like very proud to wear their like pink Sailor Moon t-shirt, which I love. Like, you go, way to go.
And dads and their little girls, and they watch it together. I mean, I just think it's really cool how many people it reaches.
I was also noticing just how many people in the line were like getting autographs for their loved ones. I'm like, people are really selfless, because I wouldn't do that for anyone. But they're not able to make it today. I'm like, well, then forget that person.
Yeah. Did you see that line?
Yeah, because like they have to stand in line, to get the autographs once the session starts. But a lot of them had to line up like an hour beforehand. I'm like, I'm not waiting 2 hours.
Well, they kept coming up. They're like, we're sweating. There's one guy that was in that Spider-Man costume. And I was like, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm not doing very well. It's hot. He goes, but it's worth it. I love you guys. I'm so excited to be here. I was like, I hope you get to like pour a bucket of ice water on you. I was like, do the ALS challenge a little late. He was like, I'm doing it right after this. I was like,
felt bad for all the Totoros. And a lot of people in like onesies. I'm like, that's not breathing.
They were just like, they were so enthusiastic and so supportive. But I did notice a lot of that. They're like, I'm getting this for my sister's birthday, or I'm getting this for so-and-so's birthday. And I think by the end of the line, everybody was only allowed 1 autograph. In the beginning, I think they could have gotten 2. But by the end, they were only getting 1 autograph, and a lot of people were like, I'm going to use my 1 autograph for someone else. And I don't necessarily see that, but I consistently see that for Sailor Moon, which I think says a lot about the fans of that show, which is really cool.
I didn't even know who was doing Sailor Moon. Like, I didn't know who was cast when I came in to do my first recording, and I was listening, and I was asking the director, because a lot of my scenes are mostly with her and maybe Ray. But I was like, who's doing Sailor Moon? Who's Usagi? She's amazing. And I've known Stephanie for years, and it was so exciting. But that's how secret the project has been. And I have to give a shout out to our director, Susie Goldish. I mean, she is amazing. She really pulls things out of you and just really works with you till you get that, what she wants from that character and what really that character's bringing.
She's totally responsible for purple pleated pants.
She has some really good rewrites. Because like she's very cynical. I don't know, cynical. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very sarcastic.
So like sometimes she'll be like, we're gonna rewrite this line to be this, and so she's like commenting on all this stuff.
I think there's been a couple that she's like, I don't even think we're gonna use this, but the opportunity's there. We're just gonna record it. So I'm like, man, that was it's always fun. But I think the only times that we really know that we're going to see each other is at conventions, which is why we're always so excited to come. We love seeing the fans, but selfishly we all like to see each other. And like we can see the voice actors from New York, the voice actors from Dallas, voice actors from Canada, LA, we're all in the same place. And it's like a huge reunion, which is really fun. And then sometimes we work out in LA.
Sheh and Cristina sometimes go work out together.
Yeah. Aside from Sailor Moon, do you have a favorite character that you voiced in something else?
I don't do favorites. I mean, I always say I just because I'm indecisive and they constantly change and then yeah. So I don't do favorites and worsts. I just like I'm not good at that.
I have a hard time picking because I feel like there's I mean obviously my voice is in all of them, but there's like a piece of me that I relate to in all the characters, and so and I imagine them all, if I were to pick a favorite, that the ones that I didn't pick would be like standing up with their arms crossed, like really forgot about me. And I don't want that because some of mine are very like aggressive when they get angry. But I also just I feel so lucky to have worked on all the characters that I've worked on, and I feel like they've come to me at a time in my life where I either needed to hear something that another character says, or there was something that I said that brought clarity to a situation or something that I was dealing with in my life. And it's just amazing to me that through whatever divine universal guidance that role and that line came to me at that time in my life, where I was able to leave the session and go, that is exactly what I needed to hear today. I feel so much better. So I can never pick a favorite because I know they all came to me when I needed them. And I'm just really grateful that that is the job that I get to work in, where I'm getting, you know, wisdom to get through my life from my job, which I know isn't always the case for everyone. So I feel very lucky.
That's politically correct. I'm like, I got favorites.
Oh, okay. You're decisive, Tara. You're decisive. It takes me like a million years just to decide what to eat.
Oh, I just feel like it's like with the children, you know, you're not supposed to say which one's your favorite, but you always wonder, like, you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm your favorite.
I don't think I ever like thought it. I don't know.
You never thought you were the favorite?
No, because there was one girl and one boy. We're very different.
I always thought I was not the favorite.
I have like two favorites, but like one of them was.
See, then it's not a favorite.
All the other
I
children,
always
like,
feel like when you ask a favorite, it becomes like Sophie's choice.
it's true. He's like, I don't know which
You know what I mean?
Because the one for my first video game role still matters a lot to me, because it was like I was Sully from Fire Emblem, and like it was awesome because it was my first big role in a video game, and it was like, and she was like so badass, and she reminds me of me, and I'm like, because up till that point I had always been playing like small boys and like everybody else, like I'm like, I'm the old woman in the street and I'm this and that, like, but I was never like, there's never anyone that and Squidward. You know, so that one, she's like just like me. She talks to guys like me. She's like, I'm gonna punch you in the throat because I like you. And my other favorite is from Danganronpa, because it was the most fun I remember having at a session. Like I was just like, wow. Was Junko and Ashima.
Yeah.
I won't say why, but it's definitely really. I can't. Spoilers. But yeah, it was really, really fun. It was one of those times where they just like let me go, and I'm like, I'm gonna have so much fun with it. So.
I have a lot of favorites, and it is true, it's like your children, you can't really pick one, but there's just so many experiences that either recording it or through that character that, you know, is very memorable. I loved playing Flan in Disgaea. I had so much fun with Sumomo. But there's other roles, like in the early 90s I did Hattie in Argento Soma, and also recently I did Mina in Naruto, and I loved her. I mean, she was really important in the character arc, you know, her little psychic ability and pulling the darkness out of Naruto. So yeah, that was a really interesting role. So I love doing the little cute, you know, kind of characters, but there's some really great characters. I did Lin in Fist of the North Star, and that was like one of the first anime, or Kyoto in Akira, the movie. So that was so interesting. And that was in the early days, and Kevin Seymour was our director. He passed away, but he was just so important in bringing anime to the U.S. And I feel very blessed to have done so many shows like Ghost in the Shell and over there with his company.
For me, there's something very, very satisfying about voicing Homura Kemi and Madoka Magica. I feel like it's so odd because now I'm working on Sailor Moon, which kind of created the magical girl genre. Before I worked on Sailor Moon, I worked on Madoka, which took that genre and like kind of flipped it around, and like it was but my character goes through just this huge arc. Like her character arc is amazing. It's the most, I don't want to say complete because they kind of ended at a place where you see that, oh, she still has some growing to do. But to start off from like this really shy, really nervous girl and grow into somebody who's seen some and then into what else she becomes, which I can't really talk about. It was just really, really amazing to get to work on that project. And the last movie we did, Rebellion, is one of my favorite things that I've worked with in general. Just the animation, the story, the music, just everybody brought everything they had to that movie. So it was really great. But I'm not choosing favorites or anything.
Tony Oliver was asked that question yesterday, and he had, I thought, a really politically correct answer. He said his favorite one is this next one.
Yeah.
There's a lot that paints us more.
I was like, what is going on?
She's
Yeah.
She's channeling for us. I was really blessed. I was working on The Simpsons. I moved to LA. You know, I got an agent. I was really inspired by a director named Sue Blue, in a workshop in Orlando. I'd been working for Disney for years, and so I decided I wanted to come to LA and give LA a try and do voiceover. So I was literally pounding the pavement, you know, soliciting agents. I found an agent, and right away I was really lucky to get cast in the Walla group, the ADR group of The Simpsons, which meant I had, you know, a job going in every week and doing whatever voices they needed. All the little kids, the women shopping, or a Swedish woman drowning, you know, helpa, helpa. So, you know, it was great that I had that job. But then I believe that was Eric Sherman from Bang Zoom Entertainment asked me to come read for Sakura and Ninja Cadets. And this was in like 94, maybe 1993 or 4. And that's when anime was very underground, and you know, we were in a garage somewhere, and that's where the studio was built. And so I've been very blessed, and I was a nervous wreck because I had never dubbed before, and there's numbers flying across the screen, the time code, and beeps are going, and I felt like, oh no, I have to be like a drummer. How do I do all these things at once? But I find, you know, I got cast in the role, and they worked with me, and I was really kind of brought into the industry because of my voice and because of my experience working in animation before anime. So I feel very blessed. There's so many great sites that just in general for a voice actor, Dee Baker has a great site on how to be a voice actor, and you know, Yuri Lowenthal and Tara have a great book. So there's so much more to voice acting than just a unique voice. You really have to have that foundation as an actor. So I would say to your friend, like, get involved as much improv and acting as you can, because that's really anime I have such respect for, because you know, in mainstream animation we sit in a room, theater style, and we talk to each other and we record the script. But in anime you have to bring the technical ability of that, being able to dub, and bring that acting into that role and that experiences into that role in that short amount of time. So it's really, I have great respect for anime, and I think now you're finally getting the credibility that it deserves, and especially with Hollywood making movies like Ghost in the Shell coming out. But I really think anime is to be respected. It's like a great genre.
I think one of the hardest things for me was just the amount of time everything takes, and unfortunately, like, you know, there's going to be times, especially when you're getting started, that you're not going to be called in for a couple months. You've got to babysit or do other things to make ends meet. Or, you know, it took me 3 years of working pretty consistently, and I still couldn't get, you know, I didn't get an agent until 3 years in. And, you know, I didn't get Sailor Moon until 4 years in. And that's like people are considering that like my first anime like lead, like not the lead, but one of the leads. And it's like, that took me a couple of years to get. So it's, I think a lot of people are like, if it's not happening immediately, they're like, I'm failing, this is awful. So I think you kind of just have to be like, no, it'll happen eventually, but just being patient, that's very hard.
I think there's the anime industry and dubbing it. It's a little bit different than maybe other acting roles in the entertainment industry because so much of it is really technical and so much of it is speed too. Because I mean, I don't want to go into the whole industry thing, but just basically, it's really hard to make money. So time is money, and part of who gets cast is how fast you can record, because the faster you record, that means the less time they're paying for the studio, less time they're paying for the actor, because we get paid by the hour, maybe the less time for the director if they're getting paid by the hour. So that's why things can take a long time, because dubbing is kind of a little bit tricky. It's like, this, because you're acting and putting all this emotion into it, yet you have to keep in mind the timing of all the beeps. You don't get the script beforehand, so you have to be able to do this, and you have to have kind of like an internal rhythm. You have to also, most cases of anime now, they want a fairly close voice match, not to do like an impression of the original voice, but you need to do a voice that is in the ballpark of the original Japanese voice. So there's a lot of things, and then you have to scream, and you have to, all sorts of things. So if in terms of landing a big role, even if you come in and you're an awesome audition, if you have not worked enough, people are reluctant to hire you just because I have, 300 lines to get through in only a couple days or something. I need to know that actor can do that. So that's one of the reasons. So, and in terms of if things are slow, something like a mentor of mine told me when I was starting acting full time is that now you're a freelance person, everything is your job. You're doing your laundry, if your laundry has to be done, that is your job. Do you know why? Because when things get busy, you're not gonna have time to do it. So you need to take care of yourself and all aspects of your life, because that is now your job.
Yeah, I don't think, like she mentioned, anything comes up at the drop of a hat. And I've done on-camera work, VO work, writing. I've worked as an agent. I've worked as a casting director. I just love this industry, and I started when I was 5, and I wanted to do anything in this industry. So anytime anybody gave me an opportunity, I would do it. I had my own show on Radio Disney, and I had no desire necessarily that I want to be a DJ, but when the opportunity was there, I'm like, yeah, teach me how to run my own board and produce my own show and put the beds underneath it and edit my bits and all of that stuff and work on a live basis. I want to learn how to do that. And I feel like everybody that wants to work in this industry has to really love this industry, because it's so difficult. There's so many people that want one job. And like she said, if it's not happening at that point in time, it's so many people say, well, it's not happening, I'm just going to quit. Anybody that says, oh, so-and-so became an overnight success, the joke is it's 16 years and you just found out about them because it took one role to make them an overnight success. But they've been doing plays in high school, going to college, working as cashier number 5 on such and such a television show, working as a waiter, doing all this stuff, networking. And you have to do that because you never know when an audition is going to come up. There's been so many times where I've gotten a call where my agent has said, can you be downtown in 2 hours? You have an audition, here are the sides. And I just have to know, well, I have 2 hours. It's Santa Monica. I'm in Burbank. I got to leave now. And if I'm sick or if I am exhausted, or there's some actors that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go to that, and they had partied the night before and they're hungover, which is why actors have to take care of themselves. You never know when your potential overnight success break is gonna happen, or the job that's gonna pay your bills for the next 3 months so that you can continue to act. So you always have to be ready to go, ready to work, taking classes, ready to impress, because you never know when something is gonna come up.
So I'm going to share this because I hope that it will help people. But so especially in my early 20s, but since I was a kid, I struggled deeply with depression and anxiety. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm not depressed right now. But that was my journey when I was a kid, going through high school, going through college, was fighting this. And throughout that, my kind of hope was that I'd be a working actor. And so I started getting work, but I still had these struggles that I had to get through. So for me, the hardest thing was getting better. I had to get better to work. And so, I mean, I'm really grateful and happy that things have worked out. But for me, that was a challenge, and I say to anybody who's suffering with something like that, that you have to get better. That needs to be your priority first. So I really recommend before, like especially if you're younger, to go find who you are, go get therapy, find out discover who you are, and that's really going to help you with your acting, you know, to know who you are as a person. So thank you for letting me share. I don't think I told anybody that.
Unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up now. So once again, please join me in thanking Amanda, Sharon, Stephanie, Sandy, and Cristina for taking time out of their good day today and being here with us. We really appreciate it.
It means that we need more time.